Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Purvajakacharya Stotra Satta Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
On BBD founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
I am Vishnupad Paramahamsa Purvajakacharya Stotra Satta Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
His Gun BBD founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Lavindam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Odam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ki Jai. Namai Ki Jai. Bhakti Ki Jai. Tulasi Rani Ki Jai.
Jai.
Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
To the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. No. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, the Summum Bonum, Chapter 13, Text 50. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanamiva Raja Satvabhyam Shastra Palaka. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanamiva Raja Satvabhyam Shastra Palaka. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanamiva Raja Satvabhyam Shastra Palaka. Everyone can read.
Chandrika Vishadasmerai Sarunapanga Vikshitai Svakatanam Ivaraja Satvabhyam Shastrapalaka.
Chandrika Vishadasmerai Sarun Apanga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Satavabhyam Shriter Palaka.
Someone else?
Chandrika Vishadasmirai Sarunapanga Bhikshitai Swakarthanam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Shatra Palaka.
Chandrika Visada Smara Sarupanga Visikshita Sakartanam Paraja Satvabhyam Sraspalaka. Chandrika Vishadhasmera Sharuna Pangavikshita Swaktartanamiva Raja Satvabhyam Shastra Palaka.
Chandrika Vishadasmerai Sarunapanga Vikshitai Swakarthanam Iva Raja Satvabhyam Srishtir Palaka.
Anyone else?
Chandrika Visada Smera Sarunapanga Bhikshitaha Swakarthanam Iva Rajaha Satvabhyam Strastraha Palakaya.
Okay, word for word translation. Chandrika Vishadasmerai, by pure smiling like the full increasing moonlight. Sa Aruna Apanga Vikshitai, by the clear glances of their reddish eyes. Swaka Artanam, of the desires of his own devotees. Eva, just as. Rajasattvabhyam, by the modes of passion and goodness. Shrastrapalaka, were creators and protectors. Translation: those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Those Vishnu forms blessed the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resembled the increasingly full light of the moon. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. As maintainers, they glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by smiling. Their smiles resembled the mode of goodness, protecting all the desires of the devotees, and the glancing of their eyes resembled the mode of passion. Actually, in this verse, the word Raja means not passion, but affection. In the material world, Rajoguna is passion, but in the spiritual world, it is affection. In the material world, affection is contaminated by Rajogun and Tamogun. But in the Shuddha Sattva, the affection that maintains the devotees is transcendental. The word Swakartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. In the material world, desire is a product of Rajogun and Tamogun, but desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus, the word Swakartanam refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti. The verse once more. Chandrika Vishadasmerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Shrastrapalaka. Those Vishnu forms by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. And just because I love it so much, I'm going to repeat also that final paragraph of the purport, because it's so beautiful and moving. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. I love that paragraph so much. This is the 13th chapter, and near the end of Prabhupada was doing this in Vrindavan, near the end of his stay in this world. And we've probably seen the videos of Prabhupada even laying in bed, and the devotees, Jayadvaita Swami and some other devotees, they're holding a microphone up to Prabhupada's mouth, and he's translating and commenting and dictating his purports, even in that state. So all of Prabhupada's purports are beautiful and amazing and heartfelt. But if we think about what Prabhupada's condition and what his meditation was at this particular time, I think it gives extra strength and extra poignancy to these words. So the verse itself is very beautiful and poetic. All the Vishnu forms, who for 1 year previously had been not appearing as Vishnu forms, but appearing as cowherd boys and calves, millions upon millions of them in the town of Vrindavan, and now being shown to Lord Balaram as forms of Vishnu. And their beauty and not just their beauty, their static beauty, but the beauty of their interaction with their devotees is being described. So it's very beautiful and very poetic. Just like this Chandrika Vishadasmarai, the Lord's beautiful smile, beaming like the brilliant increasing sun. And so also, this is also interesting. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he takes this word Vishada from Chandrika Vishadasmarai, and he gives it a different, he makes like a play on words from it. This word Vishada with the S as the, I don't know the technical term for it, the S in Sanskrit with the accent above it. And if you change it to the S with the dot under it, those who know Hindi know the difference between these two S sounds. So if you change it from one to the other, then the meaning changes slightly. That Krishna's smile is so beautiful that the moon becomes disappointed in comparison. The moon is famous for being very shining and brilliant. The waxing moon is so brilliant, especially in Vedic culture. But when when the moon sees the brilliance of Krishna's smile, it becomes disappointed that, I'm not so beautiful. I'm not so brilliant compared with Krishna's smile. And this sort of thing is used in poetic sense in Vedic literature, that Krishna, he's more beautiful than millions of cupids. When, when the peacocks would see Krishna dancing, the peacocks are very famous for their dancing, but when the peacocks would see Krishna's dancing, they would become disappointed and embarrassed at the low quality of their dancing. So this is the beauty of Krishna's smile. And not just his smile and his glance. Saruna Panga Vikshitai. Vikshitai means glance. Sa Aruna means reddish. Aruna means reddish color. So, and Apanga means the corner of the eye, like this, the outer corner of the eye is Apanga. So Krishna is giving this sidelong glance. We've heard this phrase, this merciful sidelong glance, like that, but there's that song, that prayer popular in Vrindavan, the Kripa Kataksha Stava, the song about Radharani's merciful sidelong glance. So this is Saruna Panga Vikshitai. Krishna also has his merciful sidelong glance, which he's casting on his devotees. And those devotees, Swaka, They're his own devotees, his personal dearmost devotees. And those devotees, Swaka, his own devotees, have artanam, something they value, something they desire, a treasure that they consider greater than anything, and that's devotional service to Krishna. So that's Swaka Artanam or Swakartanam, which Prabhupada said, it literally means, the devotee's own dearmost thing. But Prabhupada said this means a very strong desire for performing devotional service, because that's the dearmost thing to a devotee, is serving Krishna. I knew one little boy long ago in Gita Nagari. His parents named him Swakartanam. Don't know where he is now, though, but nice little boy with that name. And then the final line, Sattvabhyam Shastra Palakai. So Raja Sattvabhyam. So, and his glance, his beautiful glance on the devotees, and his beautiful, brilliant, shining smile on the devotees is, and this is curious, Raja Sattvabhyam. This is just like Eva, Raja Sattvabhyam, like the modes of passion and the modes of goodness. So what does this mean? So this is a poetic imagery. We shouldn't be confused that somehow or others Krishna's glance is in the material modes. It's a poetic device. Raja Sattvabhyam Shastra Palaka. The modes of material nature, characteristically the mode of passion, Rajaguna, is in charge of creation, making something new, creating something. And the mode of goodness, Sattva Gun, is in charge of maintaining things. Just like the guna avatars, the guna avatar for passion is Lord Brahma, and his business is creating the world on behalf of Krishna. And Lord Vishnu is the guna avatar of Sattva Guna, the mode of goodness, and he's maintaining the entire universe. And Tamagun isn't mentioned here, but the guna avatar of Tamagun is Lord Shiva, and his job is destroying the universe. So this is the poetic device that by Krishna's glance and Krishna's beauty and Krishna's loving smile, he's creating something and he's maintaining something, just like in the material world, the modes of passion and goodness are creating and maintaining. Shastra Palaka. Shastra means Shristi, creating, and Palaka means maintaining or protecting. From this root Pala, just like Krishna is called Gopala, because he's the protector of the go. He's the protector of the cows, so he's called Gopal. So Palaka means the protector or the maintainer. So by Krishna's loving glance from his reddish eyes, reddish like the mode of passion, and his loving, bright, brilliant smile with his beautiful, shining white teeth, which are white like the mode of goodness, he's also creating and maintaining. He's creating and maintaining all the desires of a devotee to serve him in eternal loving devotional service. So this is the poetic description here. And he explains in the purport that Raja in the material sense means the mode of passion. But in the spiritual sense, it means the affection between the Lord and his devotees. So this is the distinction. He's taking this aspect, this creative aspect of the mode of passion, and using it to inspire the devotees in their love and service to Krishna. So this is how we can understand this Eva Raja Sattva Bhyam, that his glance and smile are like the modes of goodness and passion. And in any case, all of these goodness, passion, and ignorance are all Krishna's business anyway. Janmadyasya yataha, that the creation, the maintenance, and the annihilation of the material creation are all done by Krishna himself. The modes of nature and the different guna avatars are simply his tools, like that Shrishti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktireka. Just like Durga, described in the Brahma Samhita, is doing this on behalf of Krishna, maintaining the material universe. And also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the same thing is described as being done by Lord Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Balaram, is also described as having this potency on behalf of Krishna of Shrishti, Sthiti, and Pralaya, creation, maintenance, and dissolution. But ultimately, it's all Krishna's work. Shrishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Tanha, Haitehaya, Stula, Sukshma, Jagatera, Tenho, Samashraya. That Shrishti, Sthiti, and Pralaya, the creation, the maintenance, and the destruction of everything, are all being carried on by Krishna. It's all Krishna's potency doing all this. And Stula, Sukshma, Jagatera, every aspect of the universe, the subtle aspects and the gross aspects, are all under his control, all under his shelter. So Krishna's the maintainer and the creator of everything. But again, this very specific thing is being described, that the creation and maintenance in this purely spiritual aspect of creating and maintaining the beautiful desires of the devotee for their service to Krishna. Now one may say, but a devotee has no desires. So what does this mean? And Prabhupada also mentions that in the purport. He says, Bhagavatam says, Akama sarva kamova, moksha kama udaridi, tivrena bhakti yogena, yajeta purusham param. That devotional service is so powerful, tivrena. Tivrena means extremely powerful, like the sun's rays, completely unblocked, unimpeded by any clouds. Devotional service is so powerful that those who are akama, those who are sarva kama, and those who are moksha kama should all engage in devotional service. So akama literally means without desires. That means the devotees, because they're completely devoid of any material desires. And sarvokama, even those who are completely full, saturated with all material desires, they should also take up devotional service, because devotional service is tivrena, so powerful, like the sun's rays, that they'll be purified also. And even those who are moksha kama, those who have given up material desires and simply desire liberation, whether personal or impersonal, they should also take up the devotional service of the Lord, because it's so powerful that they'll be purified by that. So what does this mean? A devotee has no desires. There's several examples of this in the scripture. There's the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was sarva kama. He was full with material desires. His mother mistreated him. His father mistreated him. He felt, and he wanted revenge, and he wanted a kingdom. He wanted a kingdom greater than his father's. So he wanted this, and he went to the forest, and he met Narada Muni, who preached to him. He tried to preach to him, just don't be so upset, just meditate, just don't be, just accept things as they come. And Dhruva was so saturated with material desires that he said, no, I'm not really interested in these instructions you're giving me. If you can't help me to fulfill my desires, then thank you very much, but goodbye. So Narada Muni was intelligent. So he understood this, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, that devotional service is so powerful that even if you're full of material desires, you'll be purified. So he gave him this process of devotional service, including chanting of mantras, including deity worship, and meditating on the Lord. And incidentally, in that section of the Bhagavatam, there's also a long, beautiful description of what the Lord looks like, so that Dhruva has an idea to meditate upon, a beautiful description of the Lord. And he did that, and he finally got darshan of the Lord. And when he saw Krishna, he said, this is not from the Bhagavatam, this is from the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. He said, Stana bilasi tapasi stitoha twa praptavan deva munenjaguyam kacha vichinvan apidivyaratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayache. He was lamenting. He said, oh my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penances and austerities. Now I have gotten you who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore I am satisfied. I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction of you. Because Lord Vishnu, he came before Dhruva and said, yes, you did this, you've satisfied me, and you had something in mind, you wanted something by performing this devotional service. And again, Dhruva was embarrassed. He said, no, Kachavichinvan Divyaratnam. I was looking for kacha, little insignificant broken pieces of glass of material desires. But instead, I've gotten the most valuable jewel of the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't want anything. So Dhruva was sarvakama, and he became a kama. But what was he do? Did his state of desires remain a void, just an empty in his heart or in his consciousness where there used to be all these material desires? Now it's just a vacuum? No. He had a desire. He wanted to please the Lord. He wanted to glorify the Lord. But he couldn't. He was a little boy. What could he do? So Lord Vishnu just also gave him his loving glance and his smile and touched him with his conch shell. And then Dhruva was inspiring the desire of Dhruva, and then he was able to offer amazing prayers. Prabhupada says in a purport, he says, the devotees do not want anything like that for self-satisfaction. They only want to serve the Lord because the Lord is great. And as living entities, they are eternally subordinate parts and parcels of the Lord. This perfect realization of the self by the devotee helps him to become desireless, to desire nothing for his personal self. And thus the devotees are called nishkami, without any desire. A living entity by his constitutional position cannot be void of all desires. The bhukti kamis, mukti kamis, and siddhi kamis all desire something for personal satisfaction. But the nishkami devotees of the Lord desire everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. They are completely dependent on the orders of the Lord and are always ready to discharge their duty for the satisfaction of the Lord. So this is the akama situation. Here's a person, a young boy, who is full of all material desires. And by his devotional service and by the mercy of the Lord, all those material desires were eliminated. But he wasn't left in a state of vacuum or void. Rather, immediately he became full with all spiritual desires. How can I serve Krishna? How can I love Krishna? How can I glorify Krishna? So this is the desirelessness of the devotee. Another nice example, another child devotee, is the example of Prahlad. After the entire pastime of Prahlad Maharaj and is being harassed by his father, it's interesting, actually, Dhruva, he was full of all material desires, performing devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj, from the very beginning, was completely desireless. His father tried to kill him. He was not agitated. The demons attacked him. He was not agitated. Complete desirelessness. So anyway, after the pastime, and Lord Nrsimha appeared and killed the demon Hiranyakashipu, and he appeared before Prahlad, and he said to Prahlad, what do you desire? Tell me your desire and I'll fulfill it. And Prahlad Maharaj replied, this is from Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 10, at the beginning of that chapter. The Saint Narada Muni continued, although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Nrsimhadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. Otherwise, O my Lord, O supreme instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce him to do something unbeneficial for him. On the other hand, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be your pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. O my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There is no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I am naturally your servant. We have no other relationship. So this is the desirelessness of Prahlad Maharaj. He doesn't want these material desires. He's actively afraid of having material desires and of having them fulfilled, because he understands what that does to one's consciousness and what that does to one's spiritual life. But he cherishes the desire to be the eternal, unmotivated servant of Krishna. And he says a devotee who wants something from Krishna in exchange is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. So this is a lower grade of devotional service. When Prabhupada visited, I'm not sure what year it was, 69 or 70 maybe, Prabhupada visited Ohio State University with, what was the poet's name? Allen Ginsberg. And he led a kirtan, a big kirtan with, and all the students were chanting and dancing along, and it was a big ecstatic program. And then he spoke, and in that talk, he said, everyone is praying, oh God, give me my daily bread. This is from the Lord's Prayer. How's that start? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. So there's nothing wrong with that Lord's Prayer. I'm not singling that out, but he took that particular phrase, oh Lord, give me my daily bread. And Prabhupada said, this is not love of God. This is love of bread. So if we approach Krishna for fulfillment of material desire, that's not love of Krishna. That's love of our fulfilling our desires. Whereas the Akama devotee, he gives up the material desires, but he still has his desires in relation to Krishna for loving, for serving Krishna. In the purport, Prabhupada briefly referenced the Sikshashtaka verse about the moonbeam, the benediction moon is spreading the white lotus of good fortune. So also in the Sikshashtaka, Lord Chaitanya prays, na janam na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. He says, I don't want these material desires. I don't want wealth, na janam. I don't want big birth, family, reputation, fame. Na janam na sundarim. I'm not interested in finding a beautiful mate to fulfill my desires. Okay, he has no material desires. Does he have any desires? Mama janmani share bhavatad bhaktir ahaituki twai. I do have a desire that birth after birth, janmani share ahaituki twai. He has this desire to render devotional service as Krishna's unmotivated servant, birth after birth. So this spiritual desire, getting rid of the material desires, of course, but simultaneously cultivating with the help of Krishna these spiritual desires is a very important root of our devotional service. This desire is what separates the active devotees from those lower devotees who are merely in Shantaras. In Shantaras, it's described that one has passive appreciation of Krishna. Krishna is great. Krishna is glorious. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the creator and maintainer of everything. So this appreciation is very wonderful, but to such a person, it generally doesn't occur to them, oh, I should do something. I should offer service to this person. I should do something in return. I should engage in a relationship with him. That is more or less absent at the stage of Shantaras. So when one actually starts developing those spiritual desires, then the actual give and take relationship between Krishna and the devotee can occur. That's what these transcendental desires give rise to. And this desire is at the root of everything. Everything is based upon our desire. We have some degree of free will in this material world. I don't know how much, but we have some. But at the root of it is our desire. If we desire exclusively Krishna and loving Krishna and serving Krishna and desire that exclusively, then we're a pure. In fact, such a person who maintained that would never have come to this material world. That's why we come, because of that change of desire. Why Krishna at the center? I should be at the center. Why fulfilling Krishna's desires? What about my desires? That's the beginning of our material existence, that desire. And the same thing in this material life. Those of us, most of the living entities in the material world, completely forgotten Krishna, completely forgotten devotional service. But somehow or other, if they get some exposure and they think, oh, let me serve God, let me serve Krishna, let me hear about Krishna, ado shraddha, tata sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, as soon as you start on that path, that's a desire, a seed of desire that is turning away from selfish desire and starting to turn towards Krishna. So this is at the very root of our entanglement in the material world and our freedom from the material world through devotional service by cultivating this desire. However much free will we may or may not have, we don't have unlimited free will. Prabhupada once said it's like when you kick a football and the football is flying through the air and it's saying, I'm free, but it's not free. It's just going through its trajectory and getting ready to be kicked again. So, but in any case, we have some free will, but the manifestation of that free will, the root of it is cultivating our desire. And I think it was maybe last class I gave, or 2 classes ago I quoted that bit from the Nectar of Devotion just to temper this point, where I don't have it in front of me, but Prabhupada is discussing the verse Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavirtam, which states you should be free of all these material desires. Anukulena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktirutanam, and he discusses this Anushilanam. And he says devotional service means a process, that there's some activity, there's a program, there's activities and discipline that you follow. And he says simply consciousness will not help us. So that may seem the opposite of what I'm saying now. That desire, consciousness is at the root of it. But the test of that consciousness, the test of that desire is that it's manifested in practical action, practical sadhana, and practical devotional service to Krishna. So that's the test of it. It starts from the desire. But if someone says, oh, I love Krishna, I love Krishna, I love Krishna, and then asks, oh, will you do something for Krishna? He said, no, I won't do anything for Krishna. Then you really have to seriously question the nature and the reality of that person's love. So the desire has to be there, but the test of that desire is that it's manifested in behavior. And that behavior in turn goes back and strengthens the desire. And as the desire strengthens, then you want to serve Krishna even more. And by serving Krishna even more, you're purified even more, and your desire to serve gets stronger and stronger, and your service gets stronger and stronger. So this is the kind of desire that these beautiful Vishnu forms who have appeared as the cowherd boys and the cows, their beautiful glance from their reddish eyes, they're giving this merciful glance to all the devotees, and they're shining their loving smile on the devotees. And by that, they're creating and cultivating and maintaining these wonderful spiritual desires to serve Krishna. So this is what happens when Krishna glances on us. So when we go to the temple, we say we go to the temple for darshan. But even in ordinary talk, we don't say I'm doing darshan. We say you take darshan. This is our common way of saying it, you take darshan. Because when you take darshan, you're not just looking. It's not just looking at something like looking at a picture. You're also taking something. You're also receiving something. Because when you're looking at Krishna, Krishna is also looking at you. And this verse describes the power of receiving Krishna's saruna panga vikshitai, his beautiful sidelong merciful glance, and his beautiful smile that is more brilliant than the sun. This, we've seen what this does to the devotee. So when we take darshan, we see Krishna. Krishna is also seeing us. It was Friedrich Nietzsche who said that when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. So he was an atheist and a voidist. So he had no conception of God, but he understood this, that when you're gazing upon something amazing and powerful, it's not just a one-way experience, it's a two-way experience. So when we see the beautiful form of Krishna, Krishna is also casting his loving glance on us and inspiring our desires in devotional service. And because Krishna is absolute, Prabhupada has said this so many times, Krishna is absolute. So when we chant Krishna's name, it's as good as touching Krishna directly. When we offer food to Krishna, Krishna's glancing on it is the same as his eating it. And when Krishna hears prayers, he's hearing with his ears, but it's as good as him embracing the devotee. So this is the absolute nature of Krishna. So when we engage in these acts of devotional service, Krishna is also reciprocating with us and giving us and maintaining these and purifying these spiritual desires for his service. That's why Nectar of Devotion describes all the power of all of the activities of devotional service, but mentions 5 in particular, that Nam Kirtan, Satsanga, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Mathura Vas, Archamurti, Shraddha Sevan. That's Satsanga, associating with the devotees. Satsanga, Nam Kirtan, chanting Krishna's holy name. Bhagavat Shravan, reading and hearing and studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Mathura Vas, residing in the holy place of Vrindavan or Mathura or Mayapur or the temple of Vishnu. And Archamurti, worshiping the deity of the Lord. All of these 5 activities are so powerful that even a little bit of attachment to them can very quickly elevate a devotee to the platform of Bhava Bhakti. So what is it about these 5 things? Because these 5 things are very intimate contact with Krishna. Satsanga, when you're associating with the devotees, you're associating with Krishna. And that's creating and cultivating our desires for devotional service. When we're chanting the holy name, Krishna is dancing on our tongue. Radha and Krishna are dancing on our tongue and purifying our heart and cultivating these spiritual desires. And same thing, reading the Bhagavatam, residing in the holy place and worshiping the deity of the Lord. As I said, when we take darshan, we're also taking something from Krishna. He's also glancing on us. So this is how these spiritual desires get infused in our heart and grow and grow. And as always, let's see, the best example of all of this is Srila Prabhupada himself. Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, following in the parampara, had a very, very strong desire to print books. He wanted to print books and spread them all over the world in all languages. And that desire from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, which grew from his devotional service, he implanted that desire into Srila Prabhupada's heart. And actually, he preached that to all of his disciples. But Prabhupada took that desire so deeply into his heart, and look at what he's done, composed all these books, just like even at the very end of his life, in ordinary parlance, we would say he was on his deathbed. But it was his samadhi bed, that he was in a samadhi of continuing to the very end with all of his strength, preparing these books and distributing these books all over the world. So this is how these desires enter the heart from Krishna. from the spiritual master, from the parampara, and from all the devotees. Their mercy of their glance and the mercy of their smile, these desires get implanted in our heart like a seed. And if we cultivate that seed properly, like Prabhupada did, then look at how it grew. And then the other one, the one mentioned in the purport, is Prabhupada spreading temples all over the world. He was an old man and at great difficulty and with zero financial support. He came to America with nothing, and he started this movement, and he started a temple at 26 Second Avenue, and then he started in California and Canada, and then England and all over the world, because of the seed of desire planted by Krishna in his heart. And this beautiful, I'll read it again because it's so moving and so beautiful. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. So this is so amazing, actually. Probably none of us have been in Vrindavan before the Krishna Balaram temple, but there was nothing there. There was nothing there. It was more or less jungle. And Prabhupada did that just from his desire. He made that beautiful temple grow up. And also in Bombay and also in Mayapur, huge projects, huge temples and huge communities and huge preaching, just from his desire, from the desire in his heart. And he did that over and over again, preaching, opening temples. And it all grew out of that desire implanted in Srila Prabhupada's heart because of his close relationship with Krishna. And the desires of Krishna, and the desires of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the desires of his Guru Maharaj. So this is the hint for us. How do we do when we take darshan of the Lord? We should allow Krishna's merciful glance to shine into our heart and give us this desire, and also eradicate the material desires. And when we associate with the devotees, this should be our goal. And when we're reading Bhagavatam, and when we're visiting the temple or visiting the Holy Land and doing all of these things, we should know this is what's happening. This pastime 5,000 years ago in Vrindavan, with Krishna doing this miraculous thing of expanding as all the cowherd boys and calves, and then appearing as Vishnu forms with their merciful glance. This is an amazing, supernatural, unreachable thing, but it's actually reachable to us in our lives in various ways. Krishna has made himself accessible by his deity form, by his holy name, by his preaching, by his scripture, by everything. So this thing that's happening in Vrindavan with all these Vishnu forms is available to us, depending on how open we are. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments or discussion? Actually, let me read the translation one more time. The verse one more time. Chandrika Vishadasmerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Satvabhyam Shastrapalaka. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. Question, comment?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's human tendency to always look for what is in it for me, like before they do anything. Like,
right.
What is in it for me? Like, it's all based out of, materialistic or non-materialistic. Human tendency is like, I'm giving these inputs, and what is the output? Like, inputs and outputs. So how do you get away from that? I do understand that, you should never pray to Lord Krishna with an intention or with some kind of a wish. You should not wish anything for yourself. But his tendency is, at the end of the day, you at least want mental peace and peace of mind or happiness or some kind of a spiritual ecstasy or something. But according to today's words, you're telling us not to expect anything at all. let it be unalloyed. Is it practical?
Is it practical? Yes. Is it something that's going to happen in a very short period of time? Probably not. This is a long process. This is a gradual process. So it's not possible to immediately, although there are examples in scripture, but in our lives, we probably shouldn't expect that in 1 second we're going to say, bam, no more material desires, only desire for Krishna. That's not going to happen. It's a gradual process. The important part is that we're engaging in the process that will lead us to that. Even a material example, if you want to become a big muscular person, you can't just snap your fingers and say, yes, now I'm muscular. You have to undergo a process of going to the gym and working out and nutrition and exercise and aerobic and blah, blah, blah. And after a long period of time, you'll physically develop your muscles. So in devotional service, we have to recognize that it's a gradual process. We aspire to that state of desirelessness. We implement it in various practical ways as much as we can. And we remember that akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaridi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That even if we're full with all material desires, the potency of devotional service is so intense that if we engage in it, it will purify us. So it's a gradual process, and the process will work, and gradually our material desires will go down and our spiritual desires will go up. We have this balance. I don't know if you could see in the picture, like a tala, or tal, a scale like they have in India at the market, with a balance with the arm and the trays hanging, and the sabji walas weigh their produce. And in that tala, in that scale, when one arm goes down, then the other arm goes up. And when the other arm goes up, the other arm goes down. So we could take one arm as our selfish material desires, one arm is desire only for Krishna consciousness. And we may be at various stages, but we should at least be tipping gradually in the right direction, that our spiritual desires are going up and our material desires are going down. How quickly that happens and how intensely that happens is dependent on how we practice and the nature of our conditioning and so many things. But at least we should be making some gradual process. Is that all right? Oh, actually, very quickly, one other point is that even if someone is the most selfish and the most self-centered and is only thinking in terms of what can I benefit, someone can, even in that case, one can understand that, even in that case, a person can understand that the greatest benefit for me, the greatest happiness for me, even if I'm the most selfish person, is in devotional service to Krishna. So if someone understands that, even a selfish person will be motivated to do things to serve Krishna, even if it's for his own happiness. And that devotional service, because it's Tivrena, because it's so powerful, will gradually purify him. Just like the example of Dhruva Maharaj. He was exclusively interested in his own profit, but because he engaged in devotional service, he got that desire purified. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, it does. It does help, but my question is, even for your food, clothing, and shelter for your daily sustenance, you still have to engage in the material world for your sustenance and for your family sustenance and all that. So you still have to operate with a materialistic mind.
It's possible to do that without the materialistic mind. If a person is trying to live as a devotee, then the work he does to maintain himself, and if a person's family is also engaged in devotional service, then the work he does to maintain that family is also part of his devotional service. It may not be the most congenial situation, but it's part of one's devotional service and will gradually contribute to his purification. So even your work, even your material activities, even ordinary bodily functions, even a pure devotee has to eat and has to bathe and has to go to the bathroom and all these things. But that doesn't mean they're run by material desires. They're maintaining their body for the sake of devotional service. So all of these things are possible to dovetail so that they're part of one's devotional service and not merely animal life. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Again, it's a gradual process. It's a hard process. Living in the material world is difficult. I know I have a job and I hate it, and I do it because I'm maintaining my family of devotees and maintaining myself so I could go on living and go on engaging in devotional service. And I'm not a pure devotee, but I'm doing these things because I have to and because it's part of my duty. And part of that duty is also performing devotional service. So it'll gradually
But
verify.
I have a job too, but I like my job. It is tough, but I like my job. So it's not like I hate my job.
So nothing wrong with that. But you like your job or you hate your job, either way, the devotee needs to see it as, at least in some sense, somehow supporting his life of devotional service. Okay?
Got it. Yeah, got it.
Any other
Prabhu,
questions? Or
I have a question. Thank you.
It's not an, I'll just say finally, it's not an easy thing to do. I know it's not an easy thing to do, to dovetail these material aspects of our life into the totality of our devotional life. But it's possible, and it's a gradual process. We can do it. Any other question or comment?
Prabhu, this is
Yep.
Vatsala Mataji. Haribol. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
I think as long as we have this body and Krishna is situated within our body, we are supposed to treat our body as a temple, then Krishna is residing in that as a Lord. So in order for us to maintain our health, we are supposed to do certain activities. And the activity includes you are supposed to work. And you are also having a family. At that time, you need extra money to take care of their education or something and help your husband something. So you are doing that work. But the fruits of the action is going to be dedicated to Krishna. Krishna doesn't want you to be just ignorantly doing something, because we have read a lot of things. We have seen our parents work hard. And in the back of the mind, we learn from them that they have taken care of the family the best possible way. And also behind that, and they were also doing their devotional services. So I know one day we are all going to die. At least when we are doing that, we can do it with a smile and whatever we are supposed to do to take care of ourselves. You cannot neglect your home, and also you cannot neglect your body, because Krishna is staying in your home. And it is a whole thing, it is like, just like we have a heart is the temple where Krishna resides, and the temple that we have in our house and also should be maintained. And the garden that we have outside, we are going to maintain that too. This is all to the point exclusivity of Krishna's, for the service of Krishna. So I think, just like I think the parents showed us some example in our life when we were with our parents. And when we lead our own life, I know it is hard. I was a teacher and I was a med tech. So it was not easy. I went to college here with the children and my in-laws. It was not easy life, but everything was dedicated at the back of the mind. We have a job to do. We cannot be sit down and do nothing in our life. So we have to maintain the body. We have to maintain our children and the household. So we have to do what we have to do in the best possible way. And by doing that, Krishna will, he may be far way back, but he is there with you. And eventually when the time comes when you're retired or some other life, you will be more keen on developing more devotional service or love for Krishna.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Our parents are the best examples.
Nice point. Prabhupada never advocated neglect of health or neglect of family. But as long as we remember that the ultimate test is, are we living a life of devotional service, then everything else will fall into place. Thank you. Any other questions or comment?
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhu. It was very nice to hear from you, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
You have?
If nobody has.
Hold on, my wife is sitting behind me. She has a question. I'll get that from her. Oh.
Said the desire of the devotee remain Raghunath Goswami about Radha Kund. He wanted Radha Kund. He has a desire, but then he said, just.
Oh yeah, it's a whole story.
And if you want.
Yeah. Anyway, my wife mentioned there are many examples of devotees having desires, and then maybe even being a little ashamed of the desire, but then Krishna fulfilling it. She mentioned Raghunath Das Goswami was living on the banks of Radha Kund, and he wanted it developed a little bit. He had this desire. He didn't even express it, but then Krishna, I don't remember the whole story, but Krishna inspired some wealthy man to come there and dig it out and build the ghat, and all because of his desire. And there's also the example of Sanatan Goswami and the Gopal deity, that he wanted him to have a beautiful temple, an opulent temple, but he had nothing to offer, just some dry bhati. But then Krishna arranged, because of that desire, he arranged that the salt merchant who was coming down the Yamuna, and there's a whole story, and that salt merchant with the prophets built the modern Gopal temple. So all of these examples are there, that the devotee only desires for Krishna. And as Krishna sees fit, he may fulfill those desires.
That's true.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu. Very
Final
nice
comment or
class.
question?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice class. Hare Krishna.
Very, very relishable class, Acharya Prabhu.
Hare
Just,
Krishna.
you know, no question. Just sometimes just hearing the Krishna Katha is just very enlivening and rejuvenating. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any announcement or anything?
Yeah, we just want to let everybody know that today's Sunday, and we have our Sunday Feast lecture. We do a more in-depth study of the Bhagavad Gita than what we do on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're doing the second chapter, continuing with the second chapter. And today we have His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu speaking on how do we take steps in our lives to remove our material entanglements. So please tune in for that. Definitely something that would be practical for many of us. So that begins at 4:30. We show the kirtan and the artik, and then 5 o'clock begins the class, and then 6 o'clock people can come to the temple for darshan and picking up their prasadam and milk, etc. So we hope to see you later today.
Thank you.
And once again, Acharya Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice class, Prabhu. Thank you so
We'll
I
much.
hope
wait
all
for
the devotees will
for
stay.
Krishna's glance, Prabhu.
I
Thank
hope
you,
all the
Prabhu.
devotees will
Hare Krishna.
stay safe and take care of themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Panchakalpa Trubhyastha Kripasindhu
Thank you.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.